For you are dust, and to dust you shall return. This powerful declaration from God in Genesis 3:19 signifies a profound truth. After Adam's transgression, he was transformed from immortality to mortality, destined to return to the very soil from which he was made. This speaks volumes about the wages of sin, which is death, and the weight of our earthly existence. Yet, in most beliefs, death is not the end, but a transition, reinforcing the connection between soil, death, and the promise of resurrection. But have you ever wondered how soil, often seen as a graveyard, holds the power to cradle both life and death? Can soil truly produce greatness? Join us as we delve deep into the biblical narrative and uncover the profound truths about soil. Discover its significance, potential, and divine purpose. Don't forget to hit that subscription button and embark on this enlightening journey with us. In the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth, the world was empty and formless. There was nothing but darkness covering everything. But God had a wonderful plan. On the third day of creation, he gathered the waters together in one place so that dry land could appear. This land was made of soil, rich and full of life. God spoke, and plants began to grow from the soil. Trees, flowers, grasses, and all kinds of plants sprouted, each bearing seeds of its own. The soil became a home for roots to spread, giving life to everything that grew on the earth. It was through this soil that the earth became a beautiful and fruitful place. Later, God used the soil in a special way. When he decided to create humans, he formed the first man, Adam, from the dust of the ground. He carefully shaped him, and then, breathing his own breath into Adam's nostrils, God gave him life. By forming Adam from soil, God demonstrated a profound connection between humanity and the earth. Soil is humble, often overlooked, and yet it holds the potential for life. Humans are tied to the earth, rooted in creation itself. Soil represents the cycle of life and death. From it, plants grow, animals are nourished, and when living things die, they return to the ground. By forming man from soil, God set up a metaphor for this cycle. After death, the body returns to the earth from which it was made, completing the cycle of life. After Adam and Eve sinned by eating the fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, God's perfect creation was disrupted. They had disobeyed his command, and the consequences were severe. When God came to speak to them, he addressed each one, including the ground itself, the soil from which Adam had been made. God said to Adam, "Because you listened to your wife and ate from the tree about which I commanded you, you must not eat from it. Cursed is the ground because of you. Through painful toil, you will eat from it all the days of your life. It will produce thorns and thistles for you, and you will eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your brow, you will eat your food until you return to the ground, since from it you were taken. For dust you are, and to dust you will return." In this moment, the soil, which had once been a source of life, nourishment, and beauty, was now cursed because of their sin. It would no longer produce food easily, but would bring forth thorns and thistles. Adam would have to work hard, laboring under the sun, to make the soil yield crops. The ground, once a place of abundant blessing, now symbolized the struggle and hardship that sin brought into the world. But God's words also carried a reminder of where humanity came from. Adam had been made from the dust of the earth, and because of sin, he would eventually return to that same soil in death. The curse on the soil was a reflection of the brokenness that sin had brought into the world, separating humans from the perfect harmony they once had with creation. Cain and Abel were the first sons of Adam and Eve. Cain was a farmer, working the soil to grow crops, while Abel was a shepherd, tending to his flock of sheep. One day, both Cain and Abel brought offerings to God. Abel offered the best of his flock, and God was pleased with Abel's offering. But when Cain brought some of his crops from the soil as an offering, God did not accept it. Cain became angry and upset, and God warned him to be careful, for sin was lurking, ready to take control of him if he didn't change his attitude. Despite the warning, Cain let his anger grow, and one day, he lured Abel into the field. There, he attacked and killed his brother. The first murder in human history had taken place, and the earth, the soil, witnessed it. God came to Cain and asked him where Abel was, but Cain responded, "Am I my brother's keeper?" Then God said to Cain, "What have you done? Listen, your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground." In that moment, the soil became a witness to the crime. Abel's blood, shed on the ground, cried out to God for justice. As a result of this great sin, God placed a curse on Cain, saying, "Now you are under a curse and driven from the ground, which opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you work the ground, it will no longer yield its crops for you. You will be a restless wanderer on the earth." The soil, once a source of life for Cain's crops, was now cursed because of his sin. No matter how hard he worked, the earth would no longer produce for him. The ground, which had absorbed the blood of Abel, would resist Cain's efforts, turning his life into one of endless wandering and frustration. This story showed how the soil was not just a part of creation, but a witness to human actions. It absorbed both the blessings and the consequences of humanity's choices. In Cain's case, the ground became a reminder of his crime and the broken relationship between humans, the earth, and God. The soil, which had once been a source of provision, now became a symbol of judgment and the curse of sin. When the people of Israel were about to enter the Promised Land, Moses gathered them to speak of the blessings that awaited them. Among the many things Moses talked about, he spoke of the soil, the very ground they would walk upon and depend on for their survival. He told them how special this land was. "The land you are going to possess is not like the land of Egypt, where you had to toil to make the ground produce food by watering it with your own hands," Moses said. "This land is different. It is a land of hills and valleys that drinks water directly from the rain God sends from heaven. The soil of this land is cared for by the Lord himself. His eyes are always on it, watching over it throughout the year." The soil in this land was rich and fertile, ready to bring forth an abundance of crops. God had promised that if the people obeyed his commandments, the rain would come at the right times, soaking into the soil and nourishing the plants. Their fields would be full of grain, their vineyards overflowing with wine, and their olive trees heavy with fruit. The livestock would graze in green pastures, and the people would have plenty to eat. The soil would be a source of life and prosperity, showing God's favor to his people. But Moses also warned them that the soil could turn against them if they disobeyed God. "If you forget the Lord your God and do not follow his ways, the skies will dry up like bronze, and the ground beneath you will become as hard as iron," Moses warned. "No rain will fall, and the soil will no longer produce food for you. You will plant your seeds, but instead of a rich harvest, pests will come and destroy everything. The once fertile ground will become barren, and you will struggle to survive." The soil, which was meant to be a blessing, could become a curse if the people turned away from God. The land, though abundant, was a reflection of their relationship with the Creator. If they stayed faithful, the soil would be their source of life and blessing. But if they disobeyed, the ground would become a place of hardship. The Israelites understood that the soil was more than just dirt. It was a gift from God, full of potential to provide for them. But it was also a reminder of their responsibility to follow God's commands. As they stood on the edge of the Promised Land, they knew that the soil beneath their feet held both promise and warning, depending on how they lived their lives. Jesus healed a blind man in Jerusalem using soil. One day, as the man sat by the roadside in darkness, Jesus approached him with compassion. Kneeling down, he gathered soil from the ground and mixed it with his saliva to create mud. He gently applied the mud to the man's eyes and instructed him, "Go, wash in the pool of Siloam." Filled with hope, the man followed Jesus' command. As he washed away the mud, a miracle occurred. Light flooded his vision, and he could see for the first time. The act of using soil can also be viewed as a manifestation of God's presence in the world. By mixing mud with his saliva, Jesus created a tangible connection between the divine and the earthly. This interaction emphasizes that God's power is not distant or abstract, but actively present in our lives, working through the ordinary to achieve the extraordinary. Soil is powerful in the Bible because it embodies themes of creation, life, fertility, spiritual growth, healing, covenant, and judgment. Its significance transcends mere physical substance. It serves as a rich metaphor for God's relationship with his creation and his desire for humanity to thrive both physically and spiritually. Through soil, we see God's provision, the potential for transformation, and the ongoing dialogue between the divine and the earthly realms. So, biblically, soil symbolizes life, growth, the human heart, and God's provision, but also the effects of sin and death. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more inspiring content. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. We love hearing from you, so leave a comment below with your thoughts or questions. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.